Following the night's journey, the prophet had a new Qibla to replace the one he had spoiled, so all he needed now was some followers. But having disgraced himself in Mecca with the satanic bargain, the Taif stoning, and the wild Barak ride, he needed a new audience. Fortunately, opportunity sprung up from the most unexpected place. The pilgrimage fairs promoted by Qusay were still in full swing.
Tabari. The messenger used to appear at the times of the pilgrimage before the Arab tribes, summoning them to Allah, informing them that he was the prophet sent by Allah, and asking them to believe his words and defend him. I am Allah's messenger to you, commanding you to worship Allah and not to associate anything with him.
Like I just did.
To cast off whatever idols you worship other than him, to believe in me and the truth of my message, and to defend me so that I may make manifest the message of Allah I have been sent to convey.
This was all about me, myself, and I. Insecure people like Mohammad have an insatiable craving for praise. They live to be in control, and they will stop at nothing to achieve their agenda, rationalizing everything they do along the way.
When the prophet completed his speech and appeal, Abdallah Lahab would say, Banu so-and-so, this man is calling upon you to cast off Alat and Aluzza and accept the error of his ways. Do not obey him. Do not listen to him.
The Muslim sages felt that it was in their interest to demean Uncle Abu by calling him slave to Aluzza Abu. But it was a two-edged sword, for if Aluzza and Alat were pagan goddesses for which men were named, Allah was also a pre-Islamic idol whose name men bore. In the next hadith from, of all people, Abd ar-Rahman, we read,
Speaking to the clan of the Banu Abdallah, Muhammad said, Allah has given your ancestor an excellent name.
As a prophet, Muhammad was an abysmal failure.
Ishaq. The apostle offered himself to the Arab tribes at the fairs whenever an opportunity arose. He used to ask them to believe in him and protect him. The apostle stopped by the Arab encampments and told him that he was the prophet of Allah, ordering them to worship him, to believe in his messenger, and to protect him until Allah made plain his purpose. He went to the tents of the Kinda and offered himself to them, but they declined. He went to the Abdallah clan with the same message, but they would not heed. The apostle went to the Hanifa, where he met with the worst reception of all. He tried the Amir, but one of them said to him, I suppose you want us to protect him from the Arabs with our lives, and then if you prevail, someone else will reap the benefits. Thank you, no.
Craving power and money.
Tabari and Ishaq. Whenever Muhammad heard of a pilgrim coming to the fairs who was important, he would give special attention to him. Some sheikhs of Yathrib's Auf clan came to Mecca on the Umrah. When Muhammad heard about Suwayd's arrival,
a poet called the Perfect One,
he was attentive to him. Suwayd said, Perhaps what you are presenting is like what I'm saying. The messenger asked, What are you reciting? The book of Luqman, he replied.
Luqman was a mythical Arab. He appears in the 31st surah.
The messenger said, Hand it to me,
so that I can plagiarize it like I have Hanif poetry and Jewish scripture.
Suwayd handed it over and explained it to him. Muhammad said, This speech is good, but I have better. My speech is a Koran, which Allah has revealed to me. The prophet recited some of it to Suwayd. He said, This is a fine saying, and went off, rejoining his people.
Undeterred, the prophet continued to mill among the crowds, pressing the flesh, as he regaled them with his solicitations. But time was running out. The ritual ceremonies were nearly over.
Ishaq. The apostle heard about Abdul. He asked them if they would like to get something more profitable than their present errand.
Since they were on a religious pilgrimage, Mohammed must have been selling the religion of stolen booty. But their leader
took a handful of dirt and threw it in Muhammad's face.
Now desperate, Allah's boy followed the devotees of the pagan idols on their final procession to Arafat and then back to Mina. In the narrow valley, opportunity knocked. Mohammed shuffled up to a group of pilgrims from Yathrib.
"What tribe are you from?" "The tribe of Khaziraj,"
one replied.
"Ah,"
the prophet said excitedly.
"Your tribe is a confederate of the Jews, isn't it?" "Yes, we are." "Then why don't we sit down and chat?"
A hadith reports,
Tabari, "When Allah wished to make his religion victorious
with the sword,
to render his prophet mighty
with political power,
and to fulfill his promise
to make Muhammad rich,
the messenger went out during that pilgrimage and met a group of Ansarat Aqaba, the party of the Khaziraj."
The Ansar, or helpers, are Muslims from Yathrib. At the time, there were none.
Ishaq, "Allah had prepared them for Islam because they lived next to the Jews, who were people of scripture and knowledge. While the Khaziraj were polytheists and idolaters, they had gained the mastery over the Jews, raiding them. Whenever any dispute arose, the Jews would say, 'A prophet will be sent soon. His time is at hand. We shall follow him, and with him as our leader, we shall kill you.'"
This hadith confirms several things that would shape Islam. First, there were Jews in Yathrib, lots of them. They were smart, well-read, and biblically grounded. The Arabs were pagan, and yet they dominated the Jews, something Mohammed would capitalize upon in a big way. When the Jews became frustrated, they did what they have always done. They said, "We may be down now, but you just wait. One day our Messiah will come, and things will be different." The expectation of a Messiah was interwoven throughout the whole of Jewish life. As such, it would have been communicated to the Arabs. And no doubt, the idolatrous and illiterate inhabitants of Yathrib would have envied the rich customs and heritage of the Jews. It was the perfect environment for the failed prophet of Mecca. The Arabs in Yathrib, tomorrow's Medina, were ripe for the harvest. Still addicted to idolatrous superstitions, they were just well enough acquainted with Judaism to swallow Muhammad's corruptions. They were the perfect patsies for his desperate con. Already expecting a Messiah, they readily accepted the reformer of Qusay's Kaaba worship as their prophet. They invited the wolf in sheep's clothing into their midst, a decision they would soon come to regret. But it's ironic in a way. The only reason these Arabs accepted Mohammed was because the Jews, having rejected the real Messiah, were still awaiting his arrival. Otherwise, the good folks in Yathrib would have rejected Mohammed just as everyone else had.
Ishaq and Tabari. After the messenger had spoken to the group from Yathrib, they said, "Take note. This is the very prophet whom the Jews are menacing us with. Don't let them find him before we accept him." Because of this, they responded to his call and became Muslims.
Finding himself at the right place at the right time, Mohammed fooled the Arabs into thinking that he was the promised Jewish Messiah. Delusions of grandeur had overwhelmed him once again. Mohammed's status in Mecca was so strained, not a word of what occurred over the next 12 months was provided by either Tabari or Ishaq. Nothing. They both jumped to the same time the following year. The religion of Islam died, undeniably and absolutely, from the moral decadence of the Quraysh bargain, from the spiritual depravity of the satanic verses, and the hallucinogenic lunacy of the night's journey. Simply stated, immoral, possessed lunatics don't make good prophets.
Ishaq and Tabari. The following year, 12 of the Ansar came on the pilgrimage and met the messenger, this being the first Aqaba. They took an oath of allegiance to him according to the terms of the pledge of women. This was before the duty of making war was laid upon them.
A footnote reads,
It was called the Pledge of Women because Koran 60 verse 12 told Muhammad to require this from women wanting to become Muslims.
Only one small problem. The 60th surah was revealed 11 years later, after Mecca had been conquered. The next hadith explains,
Ishaq and Tabari. There were 12 of us, and we pledged ourselves to the Prophet in the manner of women that was laid out before war was enjoined. The terms were that we should not associate anything with Allah, we should not steal, we should not commit adultery or fornication, should not kill our children, should not slander our neighbors, and we should not disobey Muhammad in what is proper. If we fulfilled this, we would have paradise, and if we failed, Allah would punish us in hell.
This became Quran 60:12.